We know we are getting a Jurassic World Evolution 2 DLC in June in honor of the 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park. We don't know what it will be and what it will bring to our game. We have the major movie content already after all. I thought it would be fun to dream up what I think would be the perfect DLC.
Perfect.
What?
Perfect.
This is not a prediction video, this is my hopes and dreams. Why even make a video on that?
Because it's so much fun, Jan. Get it?
Hello everyone, thank you for checking out this video. Before we sink our teeth into the meat of it, we need to establish one important ground rule. It has to be a realistic DLC. Obviously, the perfect DLC would just add literally every single thing we've ever wanted for free. That is not realistic. In this video, I am constructing the best possible DLC within the parameters of a standard Frontier expansion. That means it has to fall under one certain cohesive theme or concept. All content in the DLC must logically tie into that theme. We can add a campaign story add-on, 4 new species, 2 or 3 new maps, a building set, and decorations. With that in mind, I would like to pitch to you Jurassic World Evolution 2 Jurassic Park Japan expansion. I've mentioned this concept before briefly, but this video will be in depth. If you end up enjoying the video, give it a like and comment your own dream DLC down below. Frontier has shown that they do really listen to their community's ideas and requests, so let's provide them with a bit of inspiration. Before I tell you about the story and the content of my dream DLC, let me first quickly explain why I chose this concept. Jurassic Park Japan is mentioned only in a throwaway line in the original novel, but with all major content from the original movie already in the game, I think this is a fun concept to bring some content into the game from the novel that started it all. And as we go through this video, you'll see that I'm using it as an excuse or kind of like a back door to bring in some of that missing stuff from the novel and even little bits from the movie as well. But at the same time, Jurassic Park Japan as a concept being mentioned only briefly gives us a lot of freedom to get creative and not get bogged down by having to tick certain boxes. The campaign of the Jurassic Park Japan expansion will take us into the past of an alternate timeline. Now, before you think, that's a little too much MCU in my Jurassic World Evolution DLC, keep in mind that the best DLC from the first game did the exact same thing. Return to Jurassic Park took us back in time and deviated from the established history in the movie universe. So there is precedent for taking this storytelling liberty, and my DLC would be a sequel to the Return to Jurassic Park DLC. And the story would go as follows. In 1993, following the massive success of Jurassic Park, after, some initial troubles getting it up and running, we as park builders are now tasked by Hammond and young hot Cabot to create a second Jurassic Park in Japan. In the novel, it is mentioned that the plan was to build Jurassic Park Japan on an island near Guam. With a bit of dialogue, we are going to retcon that. Cabot is going to point out that one of the only things holding back the success of the original Jurassic Park in Costa Rica is the remote location and the need for travel. So he has convinced the board to scrap the idea of an island near Guam and instead to build Jurassic Park Japan on the actual island of Japan. You might think
that is a very, very bad idea.
And you would be very right. That's exactly the point. Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, and Ian Malcolm agree that that is a very bad idea, but they still want to help. They will be reprising their roles as our advisors as they did in Return to Jurassic Park. The first part of this 2-part campaign has us building a park on the island of Japan close to civilization. The campaign will focus a lot on Asian dinosaurs using the species discovered in Asia that we already have in the game, plus adding new species, which I will list later in this video. We're doing pretty well at the start of building our park, but at the midway point we are informed that there is a typhoon incoming and a countdown starts. It's a very long countdown, maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and it's gonna feel reminiscent of J-POG, where storms were announced quite a bit in advance. During the time period leading up to the storm, the weather gets progressively worse, like the environment darkens, it gets more gray, it gets more more windy, and our mission is to prepare the park for when the typhoon hits, while at the same time still trying to expand and keep up income, because we're going to need a lot of money to recover after the storm. You can imagine that Cabot is really pushing for that for more profits, while Ian Malcolm, for example, urges you to build more shelters and such. Unfortunately, no matter what the player does, when the typhoon hits, catastrophe will strike the park. Depending on how well you did in the preparation phase, either everything goes to hell, meaning you failed, or just one key mission dinosaur escapes. No matter how well prepared you are, at least that one dinosaur will escape into a nearby city, and afterwards, our Jurassic Park Japan is shut down forever. This is when the second part of the campaign starts. We are dropped on a second map, and where is this? On an island close to Guam, the original idea. The board has agreed that building on the actual island of Japan and close to cities was a very bad idea. They're not going to repeat that, but they do want to try to replicate the same success that Jurassic Park has in Costa Rica, so on a remote island. I will describe the maps in detail in a later part of this video, and trust me, it will be one of the best parts of this Dream DLC. Just like Isla Nublar, the island we are on is made up. It's uninhabited, and it is where we will build the second iteration of our Jurassic Park Japan. As we build our park there, dinosaurs from the previous park that have been recaptured are flown in incrementally, so we have to make exhibits for them as they come, comparable to the San Diego Chaos Theory. Now, you might feel like the first part of the campaign was a waste of your time, because no matter what you do, the park will fail and you will have to relocate to this other island. But there is one very important thing that does influence the continuation of your gameplay. The money that you made with that first park is your starting capital for your second park, and the reputation with which your first park ended determines how many guests and thus how much new income you will get when you start your second park. The more money you manage to make and save up with your first park, the better off you are starting the second park. Moreover, the more injuries, deaths, and lawsuits, the worse your starting reputation is when you open your second park, influencing your income there. So it actually matters a lot how well prepared you were in your first park in terms of storm defense upgrades, shelters for your guests, appropriate enclosures, and all of that. If you are thinking to yourself, Evo, your perfect DLC involves dealing with a storm and money management? That's odd. Very true, you know me very well. The campaign side of this DLC is just me coming up with a fun story that I think will challenge other players. Me, I play campaign once, might rage quit once or twice in the meantime, and eventually just return to my sandbox safe haven, which this DLC will provide many gems for. This whole campaign story, that's just for you, you micromanaging storm chasers. Moving on. The park build on the second location goes more or less the way any park build goes in the game, with one added detail. Once in a while, you are notified that investors are coming to the park. Investors from Australia, Saudi Arabia, Russia, etc. And during these visits, you are faced with some challenges, like tours being disabled, a breakout or minor storm, sabotage, stuff like that. And how well / how fast you solve those issues determines how impressed the investors are. If they were impressed with the performance of the park as they were there, you unlock, let's say, Jurassic Park Australia. The Australian investors were so inspired by how well your park is doing that they are confident that they can make a successful Jurassic Park in Australia happen. This unlock is conceptual only. You would not actually unlock a location in Australia and build a park there. It's more like a new database unlock. But it will be paired with minor but actual in-game rewards, like unlocking, for example, Muttaburrasaurus genomes so you can add them to your park. Now, this will not add any new species from those parts of the world, but instead giving you access to the existing species from those regions in this particular campaign. So instead of having to dig for their DNA, the new mechanic is that you get gifted this DNA if you impress the investors. In terms of new content, it would unlock an additional skin for the species in question, and a new decoration that the investors gave you as a gift to thank you for the this amazing time that they had in your park and the very successful enterprise that they will now start in their own country. For example, a statue, a fountain, or a skeleton, stuff like that. Of course, narratively, this opens up the possibility for a follow-up expansion that I would call Jurassic World Evolution 2, the worldwide expansion, where you are back in the current time and there are several Jurassic World parks all over the world, and you can travel between a handful of them, managing and expanding them. The way it worked in Jurassic World Evolution 1, where you could hop from one island to the next and then go back and improve on it, and something that we also got a little bit of in the Malta campaign. I have one more surprise to throw into the campaign of my dream Jurassic Park Japan expansion. A surprise that players will encounter during the second part of the campaign. In voiceover from Not Really John Hammond, it is revealed that the tracking system on Nublar that counts the number of dinosaurs is malfunctioning and showing increasing numbers. Cabot remarks something cheeky like, "Oh, that's why we don't use that system here, we will count for ourselves." And Ian Malcolm pops in with a vague remark like, maybe the system isn't malfunctioning. You know where this is going. Baby dinosaurs. The pack of raptors that we had to create for a previous mission now suddenly has a new member, a baby. Us as park builders realize that life has found a way. Now, very important to keep with the ground rule of making this DLC realistic, more or less, it would not include baby dinosaurs for all species of the game. Instead, only the classic Jurassic Park species are able to have babies, namely the raptors, the T-Rex, Triceratops, Brachiosaurus, Parasaurolophus, Dilophosaurus, and Gallimimus. This makes it a doable amount of work, and it perfectly ties into the anniversary event because these are the dinosaurs from the first movie that we are celebrating. And I'm also gonna check in Stegosaurus, even though it wasn't in the first movie, because baby Stego is canon to the series, but also it's my favorite, and this is my dream. Please don't take away my dream. What makes these 7 species special, what makes these 7 species able to procreate, can just easily be explained in voiceover lines where it is explained that these are maybe older generation dinosaurs where the science was maybe a little bit heavy-handed on the frog DNA. If you enjoyed this campaign story, give the video a like, but if you are a sandbox player like me, this is where the concept is going to become more exciting, because now we are going to be talking about the content in this DLC, which you will be able to use in all game modes. The most important of which is the dinosaurs. You thought I was gonna say planters, didn't you? So far, expansions only add 4 species, so 4 species will be added in the Japan expansion. Rather than limiting the species pool that we can pick from to only Japanese dinosaurs, I expanded the pool to all Asian dinosaurs. The first dinosaur is Tarbosaurus. This dinosaur will have a more paleo-accurate design than what we saw in Camp Cretaceous. However, a Camp Cretaceous variant of the Tarbosaurus is automatically unlocked if the player has last year's Camp Cretaceous pack installed. So you retroactively get more content from the Camp Cretaceous pack in this DLC. That seems strange until you consider that Update 1.5 gave us all those extra skin options for many variants, which were exclusive to past DLCs. So that also retroactively added more content to those DLCs. So just like the Uranosaurus and the Kentrosaurus, we get a Jurassic World Evolution 2 Tarbosaurus with its own unique design and all of the skin options, as well as a Camp Cretaceous variant with a show accurate skin, as well as, again, all of the different skin options. Because this is my dream, I am stealing the Tarbosaurus from the collection of stuff that we are missing from Camp Cretaceous, because in my dream, there won't be a second Camp Cretaceous DLC at some point down the line. Put the Tarbosaurus in this DLC, put Nothosaurus in a future creature pack, put Spinoceratops in a hybrid DLC, and put Smilodon in a mammal pack. That way we get the creatures without spending a full DLC slot on content from that show. Okay, moving on from that hot take. Second pick, Fukui Raptor. Gotta be honest, not a species I particularly want, but a Japan expansion needs at least one quintessential Japanese dinosaur. So it's a compromise I'll make to live up to the realistic DLC rule that I set for myself. The third dinosaur, Shantungosaurus, and you better believe it will be able to fight back. This huge hadrosaur will be able to take on even the biggest theropods in combat. In terms of fighting animations, I think the main or base attack should alternate between headbutts and it rearing itself up on its hind legs and kicking with its front legs like a horse, but for the finishing move, it should body its opponent to the ground and then finish it off with a stomp on its head. The fourth and final dinosaur in my dream DLC would be the Gigantoraptor, or Gigantoraptor. It's like the Giganotosaurus versus Giganotosaurus all over again. But it's another excuse to get more of those amazing feathered skins into the game. What about the missing Microceratops that was previously part of my concept for this Jurassic Park Japan expansion? Well, come to think of it, I think it would be awesome if we would get this tiny dinosaur as part of the free update that would come in June. It is the 30th anniversary of the OG movie after all. It's a celebration and I think a little gift would only be appropriate. The campaign includes 2 new maps as well as 2 square levels for those maps. The first map is a medium-sized, a little awkwardly shaped piece of land, but it has several amazing features. First of all, it comes with cherry blossom trees. The tree brush and the default individual tree set are sakura trees in different shades of pink, similar to the trees on Pennsylvania, which are, shades of orange and red. In the background of the map, we see Mount Fuji as well as a nearby city, which of course our escaped dinosaur will rampage, causing us to have to relocate. Finally, the map also comes with a natural lagoon, because I really think we need more of those. Unlike the natural lagoon that we have currently though, which literally just opens up to the ocean, the natural lagoon on the Japan map would have some sort of ocean wall built around it. By all accounts, it should be one of the most beautiful maps in the game, because that plays into how tragic it is that it will ultimately be doomed in the campaign. This poetically plays into the ephemeral nature of cherry blossoms themselves. They are a beautiful thing, but they only last for a short time, and the same will be the case for your campaign park on this map. The second map of the campaign does not have the cherry blossom trees, because in the timeline you start building there a few months later, by which time the cherry blossoms will be gone, and we are in a slightly different biome anyway, being closer to Guam. So the tree brush there will just be green trees. It is a large map and unique to the game. It is an entire island. We have access to the entire thing all around the coast. It has a relatively straightforward shape, nothing too weird or challenging, just a good blank slate to build any park, which will make it a much wanted map in Sandbox. We will get a square level based on each, bringing it to a total of 4 new maps. The DLC will come with its own set of individually placeable cherry blossom trees, bushes, and planters, which will be usable on all biomes if you have the all biomes option. For decorations, we really need park decor. No more facility stuff, please. The decorations will more or less be split in 2. We'll have very clearly Asian-style decorations to match with the region and the vibe of the Asian park, but also more general Jurassic Park-style decorations as you would expect from a global brand. For example, I think it should have the John Hammond statue, him being the founder of this new soon-to-be worldwide chain of theme parks, and I also think it should have the Jurassic Park gate, but open and able to place it over path. We would also get a new skeleton, a Tarbosaurus skeleton, and some miscellaneous decorations like a fountain and one of these arches that I dare not pronounce the name of. To tie in with the new region, there will be an entire Asian-themed building set, which should be very heavily inspired by traditional Asian architecture, specifically Japanese architecture, but with a modern twist to it to make it theme park appropriate. This will be a complete building set, meaning a new version of every building in the game, not like the Biosyn and Malta sets, which both have missing buildings. And I also think it would be really cool to have a redesign of the Innovation Center in the style of a Japanese pagoda. I would also use the DLC to get some minor missing stuff from the original movie into our games, like the double gates and a cow feeder. Finally, this DLC will also be the introduction of some much wanted attractions, namely a river adventure / Cretaceous cruise, an underwater lagoon tunnel, and the Terratops Lodge. Comment your own dream DLC down below, and let's keep our fingers crossed that at least some of our dreams will come true come June. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, enjoy the game.